Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Beetlejuice, the 2024 movie. So I finally now just watched this movie. It's on HBO Max. And I've been wanting to watch this movie for a long time because I'm a huge fan of the original movie, and I'm a huge fan of like the cartoon series that followed. And well, I got some mixed feelings about this movie. I prefer the original one. No, I didn't go into this movie comparing it to the original one and stuff like that, like I would say do with Batman the Animated Series and Batman Caped Crusader. But like, I'm just overall disappointed in the story of this movie because there is really just a generic story. And then there are some stories that felt like they was crammed in. Why is my voice echoing? Anyway, there are some scenes or storylines, I should say, that feel crammed into the movie that don't really flow with the rest of the movie. There are at least a couple of storylines that are like that. And with those storylines and with those characters, you could literally take them out of the movie and it will be a better, like, cohesive, flowing narrative and stuff. Those other plot lines and characters are really pointless, and there was really no need to have them in the movie and stuff. And that's one of my biggest complaints is why couldn't this just be a straightforward narrative with just like one plot instead of all these other minor plots? Those minor plots could have been used for like sequels if they wanted to make them and stuff. Another problem I had with this movie is the acting. The acting really wasn't that great. The only really good performances was probably by Catherine and William and stuff. And that's about it. And that really pains me to say because you know I'm a huge Jenna Ortega fan. But this is the first time where I felt like she just like phoned in a performance and everything. I really wasn't feeling it at all and stuff. And as for Renona, I can give her a pass only because her character is supposed to be a bit manic in this movie. You know, hasn't slept in forever and she looks it. Her eyes are always like buckshot wild and everything because she's like having nightmares every night and popping pills and, you know, for like anxiety and stuff like that. And why is my voice echoing? Like, can you hear it? I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, it's like, so I can give that a pass, but it's kind of like doing other scenes when it should be pretty chill. She still looks the way she does, but of course, you know, she just hasn't really slept and is a little manic. The love interest plots that are like three in the movie, only one of them should have been in there. The other two were just so unnecessary. It was just so unnecessary. The visuals I appreciate, you know, Tim Burton going back to the original, like, you know, animatronics and prosthetics and a little CGI and stuff like that. Although the little worm snake things or whatever they're called, sandworms, I wish those were CGI. They just had too much of a bulkiness feel to it, like a heavyweight feel to it. But I do appreciate going back to form and trying to recapture that magic. However, trying to recapture that magic, it doesn't feel the same as the first movie. The first movie was quirky. The first movie, like, you know, took you by surprise. You were learning about this other world and the underworld and stuff like that. And here it feels just kind of like a watered down version of the original and the creativity of it all just for an easy cash grab because that's basically what it is and stuff. Like, This movie started to go in production around 2022. What came out in 2022? Was it the Wednesday series? Oh, I think it was. And that's what catapulted them to want to make a sequel. Because they've been wanting to make a sequel for many, many years. But Tim Burton and Michael Keaton said they're not coming back until the script sounds right. So for the most part, they just didn't want to make it, even though everybody kept pestering them to. And finally, the success of the Wednesday show is what catapulted that. And so I'll get into a little bit more about that. And, because the guys who created Wednesday, Alfred Goff and Miles Miller, they were the creator showrunners of that show. Tim Burton was only an executive producer. His influence was in it, but that's about it. And he directed 4 episodes, and he's going to direct another 4 in the second season. So he is not the one who actually created that show, which is a huge misconception. But the 2 dudes from Smallville, they wrote this movie, and I don't get it. Like, you have Tim Burton, you have the writers and creators from that of the Wednesday show, and you got Wednesday Addams, Jenna Ortega herself. How were you unable to recreate that magic? And even if you wasn't gonna recreate the magic of the original Beetlejuice movie, you could still recreate the magic of Wednesday, and yet it was not there. It's almost like nobody cared. It's almost like they just did it for money because the studio kept pestering them to do it. And when it comes to the storylines of this movie, they're not bad. That's the thing. They're actually good storylines. It's just they weren't written strong enough. The writing in this movie just wasn't strong enough for all those storylines. You have the Astrid and that guy she liked, the ghost boy. That's a fine storyline. You can get a lot of meat and juice and whatever out of that. You know what I'm saying? With her getting tricked and her mother trying to rescue her, and Beetlejuice is like helping them out and everything, which is shocking because he's the antagonist and everything. You can get a lot out of that, and that's what happened in the movie. But it just wasn't written strong enough because they was writing all this other unnecessary stuff that cluttered the movie. It is a very cluttered movie and stuff. Then you have the storyline with Beetlejuice's ex-wife, which was just crammed into the movie. And I think there's a reason why. When you find out about a little something I'll get into a little bit later in the movie. And it explains why that character was in the movie and why she was played by the actress, Monica Bellucci, I think her name is. There's a reason for that, I believe, and everything. Then, there's the storyline with Lydia and her fiance. That could have been something, but it just went completely left field and unnecessary and, stuff like that. Yes, I will get into the whole Soul Train thing. I will get into that. Also, I will get into the whole Charles Dietz thing. Like, it's funny because it's kind of like we all know why the actor Jeffrey Jones is not in this movie. But even though he's not in the movie, he's in the movie. They constantly bring him up. They have his likeness and stuff, which is just so odd that they kept going on and on and on with that gag and everything. But yet the Maitlands get like a throwaway line and everything. So like I said before, the storylines aren't bad. It's just they're not written strong enough. They're written fast and loose, like an 80s movie. But this is not an 80s movie, despite this is being a sequel from an 80s movie. And, a lot of 80s movies are very fast and loose. And a lot of Tim Burton movies are fast and loose. It's like if Tim Burton movies were to be a real person, they would have ADHD. That's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? And, I will also get into Tim Burton and that Soul Train thing. Lord Jesus, have mercy. Because there are times in this movie where you feel like he just gave a middle finger to society and everything about things he just doesn't like. Because the whole, because like him and Michael Keaton said that they want to keep Beetlejuice being politically incorrect, like the first one was. And I never saw the first one as being politically incorrect. Yeah, Beetlejuice does like a lot of bad stuff, but so saw like a lot of villains. The only bad thing I can see is he tried to date like or tried to marry a teenager in the first movie. And in this movie, you have basically a 20-something-year-old ghost pretending to try to date like I'm assuming a teenage girl and everything. But that's about all I can think about it and stuff. But you would think after the success of Wednesday, this would be a better movie, especially for that of Tim Burton, because I used to be a huge Tim Burton fan back in the day. I watched so many of his movies and stuff. And like so many of his fans, I agree. The last 10 years, he's had nothing but box office failure and everything. Pretty much every movie he's directed just flat out sucked and everything. They were box office bombs. And he was a bit of a sellout and everything. Like he wasn't staying true to his original like forte that he's known for making in his movies. I'm talking about like the gothness of it all. I ain't talking about him only casting white people. Like I said before, I'll get into that a little bit later. But like when you watch his movies, they had a certain vibe, a certain feel. You knew it was a Tim Burton movie when you started watching it and stuff, In his last couple of outings, you don't feel that. But, with the influence he did have on Wednesday, you felt a little bit of that Tim Burton-esque feel to it. So, coming into this movie just feels like a watered-down version of a cheap imitation. Like when you're in the underworld, it's so brightly lit now with these neon lights and everything. And yeah, it was kind of like that in the first one, but you had that 80s dread feel and film like grain. Now you got the digital cameras, the high def stuff, and it's too much saturation and everything. And then there's the whole story with Lydia and Astrid, like that could have been strongly written because this movie just was not strongly written enough. Like it just really wasn't. It's just kind of like, okay, if we have an idea for this person, let's quickly give a little info about this thing or this situation and just move on to the next situation. And that's kind of how they did with this movie that really like bugged me and everything. So this movie had a budget of $100 million and it made $451 million at the box office, and it was number one for a good while and still until it started to drop. And so it did well financially and everything, and it has positive reviews, but a lot of people are like the reviews for a lot of the audience people are mixed. Some think it's great, some people online literally say it sucks. I wouldn't say it sucks. I think it's an okay movie, but it could have been a heck of a lot better and stuff. One thing that's great about this movie is the merch. Finally, I can buy Beetlejuice merch because there hasn't been any in about 30 years or so. They re-released the re-release of the re-release of the cartoon DVD series. If you get the cartoon series, get the older re-release version box set because it's a heck of a lot better than the new one and stuff. There's also some toy merch and everything. I was so happy to get some of the toy merch from the cartoon series. I enjoyed the cartoon series way too much, and I need to rewatch it since I have it on DVD, but I was able to catch 5 episodes on my actual live action Beetlejuice DVD. And so the movie was shot in both America and London, which I had a feeling it did because the majority of the cast is actually British and stuff. And so they did a really good job of recreating, like, the old house and what the land looks like and everything. So they did a very good job with that. I just wish they did a better job with the characters and everything. So, first, let me just hurry and get this out the way because it's probably one of the most annoying things in the movie because it was literally just crammed in there. And that is the character of Doris, Beetlejuice like ex-wife played by Monica Bellucci and everything. And she's a soul-sucking witch in this movie. And that's literally all she does. Like, what is it? So it's like we finally get Beetlejuice's backstory. A lot of people have always wondered who the heck he is. People assume he was a used car salesman because of the way he talks and the way he dresses. But no, he's actually Italian of all things. And he was married to her, and I think she poisoned him. And then he killed her with an axe as he was dying from the poison. Now, I don't understand how her face, because, she had to reassemble her body and everything. I don't understand with the axe how he was able to curve a line into her face. If he was hacking straight through, it would be more hacked up. So I don't get it. But they had to keep her looking gorgeous because that's who Monica Bellucci is. She's a gorgeous woman. I've only seen her in 3 movies, 3 American movies. She's Italian, and she's appeared in hundreds of projects and stuff. But in the American stuff I've seen her in, she always plays a hot wife with little dialogue and everything, and that's how it is in this movie. She's just roaming around the movie awkwardly doing scenes, just sucking the souls out of dead people, trying to find Beetlejuice and everything, because she's been locked away for over 300 something years. That is literally it. She is crammed into this movie with no real explanation or reason. And so she tries to get her revenge on Beetlejuice towards the end, but then she's stopped by sandworms and stuff. It's the most frustrating plot element in the movie. But why is she in here? Well, in 2023, it was finally confirmed that Monica and Tim Burton are dating. But it's been reported they've been dating since 2022. Which means when people started talking about this movie and everything and writing it out and everything like that, they started dating. So of course, if you know anything about Tim Burton and Helen Brohan Carter, he puts his girlfriends in all of his projects. Helen Brohan Carter has literally appeared in almost nearly everything Tim Burton has done since she used to date him back in the day. So expect Monica to start appearing in more of Tim Burton's movies and TV shows and projects if he continues that pattern. Nepotism. I don't mind seeing her because, like I said before, she's gorgeous and everything, but I have no idea what her acting is like. I saw her in those 2 Matrix movies, I saw her in that one James Bond movie, and now I saw her in Beetlejuice, and I have no idea how her acting is because she has little dialogue and she's just smoking hot. So the movie's protagonist is I can't say her name, Lida Dietz. And so she's played by Winona Ryder. Lida had somewhat of a medium small role in the original movie. She was just the goth teenage girl with a really gothic, quirky type personality. And that's about it, really. It was mostly about the Maitland family and Beetlejuice. And so she is now the main protagonist of this movie. In the cartoon series, she is the main protagonist. In the cartoon series, it's a reimagine of her and Beetlejuice being best friends and going on wacky adventures in the underworld. They put a little bit of that in here, and I very much appreciate it. But you know what I'll appreciate a whole lot more? If she would have did the chant. to summon Beetlejuice, like in the cartoon series, but she didn't. And so, like, um, she is now a shell of her former self. She is still goth and everything, and I'm glad she still has that hairstyle. I love it. And Winona Ryder looks great. But her character is basically now has her own talk show talking about ghosts and this and that. And she's just a weary, sad, depressed woman and everything who teenager cannot stand her. And she has this boyfriend, and that's really about it. Now, she was never a groundbreaking character in the original movie, but at least she had more of a bit of a personality. She was a little bit of a rebel. She was completely different from that of her parents. Her parents was all bright and colorful. Here she is being just as goth can be. And she was your 80s version of goth, movie-wise, Hollywood-wise. She had a vibe to her, and that what made her such a unique and interesting character with little screen time in the original movie. Then, of course, there is the animated series where she was front and center in the entire cartoon. So it's weird to see her so dreary and depressed and manic because she literally can't sleep because she has nightmares of Beetlejuice. This has been plaguing her all her life, and she's even popping pills. This is why her eyes are so wide open. But then again, Winona Ryder's eyes have kind of been this way since she's had a resurgence in her career. Now, some idiot on Reddit feels like Winona Ryder shouldn't even be in this movie because Jeffrey Jones was not in this movie because he said, well, they're both criminals, so why is he out this movie and she in it? Gee, let's see. Because she stole clothes from a store back in the 90s, and she hasn't done that or anything else bad since. And Jeffrey Jones has literally got canceled, Me Too, for underage appropriation type stuff, inappropriate type stuff. He is literally a sex fiend monster and everything. And he is disgusting. So there is a huge difference, dude, on Reddit, which you do not seem to understand. And you're probably just like him and everything. If you're over here like defending him and stuff like that. So yeah, huge difference. So I'm glad they gave us the backstory of her and everything, but it would have been nice to see more of her having nightmares and her being manic. And so that gets quickly rushed by because, you know, she gets the call from her mom and finds out her dad is dead. When she finds out, she's a little upset, but then it kind of just passes. She still calls her mom by her original name and everything, and she gives a flyby explanation as to why the Deets are, not Deets, but the Maitlands are not there. And so, okay, let's get into this. Charles Deets, he's dead. Got ate up by a shark and everything. Plane crash and all that other stuff. And so, of course, the reason why the actor is not in here is because he's a sex offender and everything. And, or a sex offender. And so, like, he's been accused of all that stuff. He's never been found guilty, never spent time in jail because the system is so, the justice system is so messed up sometimes. Like, he should be tried and everything like that and whatever. So they make constant gags about him in the movie, but he's mentioned a lot in the movie, and his likeness is shown through claymation. And his likeness is shown on the grave tombstone and everything. But then when you see his actual body, he's headless and his chest is burst wide open. And it's played by a different actor and stuff. Now, I am a little confused as to why they constantly keep referencing him. Because we know what the actor did and, you know, all that other crap. Is it a running gag, or is it just kind of like Tim Burton giving a middle finger to cancel culture? I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like, we know Tim Burton does not like political correctness and stuff. He hates that, which I'll get into that a little bit later as to why his movies are always white, because something he actually said and everything. And so, like, is this Tim Burton's way of saying, okay, look, he did a bad thing, you don't want him in this movie, But you know, cancel culture, blah blah blah. So I'm gonna put him in the movie without putting him in the movie. I don't know if it's that or it's just he wanted to have fun at his expense. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it is kind of weird how the Jeffrey character is constantly referenced in the movie, but the Maitlands are not. Now, the Maitlands are a little bit of a different story. Gina Davis has done nothing wrong, but she's semi-retired from Hollywood and everything. And as for Adam Baldwin, well, I think it's Adam Baldwin. That's his name, I believe. Yeah. And when Tim Burton referenced both of them, he said, you know, Gina's like doing the family thing and she's not really in the Hollywood thing. But as for Adam Baldwin, he just said, I'm going to give the diplomatic answer and everything. And so it's kind of like, well, okay, what could it be? Well, we all know what it is. It's the accidental shooting on the Rust set or film that, like, you know, killed that one woman. So that's why he's not in the movie. So they decided just to write them both out the movie. There could have been ways around that. You could have got another actor to play him. You could have just brought Gina back, but not bring him, saying he moved on and she hasn't. They could have done something like that. But at least they did explain in a very quick and you'll miss it kind of reference as to what happened to them and stuff. But yet you never see their picture or nothing like that or no reference to them in the movie and everything. So that is kind of odd that you will have all this imagery of Jeffrey, but not Adam and Gina and stuff. And it's kind of like, you know, like I said before, it's because of the accidental shooting. It has nothing to do with no, not Adam. I think it's Alec Baldwin. That's it. There's too many Baldwins, okay? Alec Baldwin. There's that huge, what is it? N-word rant he went on. Alec Baldwin is racist. He also has huge anger issues. And I think he got violent one time with somebody. And so that didn't cancel him. But of course, the whole accident shooting, even though he's still not canceled, he's canceled from this movie. And so, you know, Catherine, I'm about to say Catherine Hahn. It's not Catherine Hahn. It's Catherine O'Hara. That's it. She was phenomenal in this movie. She plays kind of like a Dipsy grandmother type thing. It's kind of like, you know, she's sad about her husband dying, then she's kind of moved on, but then she's kind of sad again, and then she's messing around with these snakes that's supposed to be D-venom, and then they bit her, and so now she's dead, and I don't know, I wish they didn't write her out the movie. I would have loved to see the Deeps women, you know, be front and center and deal with whatever it is they have to deal with. Like, you know what I'm saying? That would have been cooler. But she was a delight in the movie, and she was the highlight of the entire movie. Like, I'm not even joking. I'm a huge Jenna Ortega fan, but she was a highlight in the entire movie. So you have Astrid Deets herself, played by that of Jenna Ortega. And I have problems with this character overall throughout the entire movie. One, why is her last name Deets? If Richard is her father and her mom married her father, shouldn't she have her dad's last name? That would make more sense. I don't understand why she has the last name Deets, but basically she's a grumpy teenager. She doesn't particularly like her mom all that much. She does not believe in ghosts, which does not make sense. Her mom, her grandfather, her grandmother all know about ghosts. How the heck does she not? Did they just not tell her? But for whatever reason, she doesn't believe it, and she doesn't believe in Beetlejuice. And even tries to say his name 3 times. So I'm assuming Lydia just never told her and stuff, which is kind of odd that she would go her entire life and not tell her daughter that, but have a show talking about ghosts and other crap like that that made her famous. And so kids at school pick on her because of her mom. And so I would have liked to see more of a dynamic between the falling out between her mom and, you know, Astrid and everything, and the whole how she misses her father, because she does misses him, but it's vaguely mentioned at first. And so First, let me address this little thing. Now, originally, before I saw this movie a couple of months ago, I said, I don't know if Jenna Ortega is playing a white girl or a mixed girl in this movie, because Jenna Ortega is Latina. She's half Mexican and half Puerto Rican. And so, like, I was wondering if she got whitewashed in this movie, which I hope she did not, because she would be a hypocrite because of what happened on Disney Channel and that huge falling out she had with the co-star and everything. Thankfully, she does play a mixed character. She's half white. She's half. I'm assuming Winona Ryder's white. I don't know what she is. But like, yeah, she is half Latino. What type of Latina? Don't know. And because the movie never addresses that whatsoever, there's no reference to her Latino heritage in this entire movie. And that has become a problem with some people in the Latina community, because people in the Latina community, I've noticed they're very harsh on American Latinas who play in Disney Channel or Nickelodeon. A lot of people on Twitter from the Latino community will attack Selena Gomez, as we just now found out by that one Mexican star, Jenna Ortega. Who else? Victoria Justice. That one girl, Rachel Zegler, and everything, because they feel like they're not real Latinas and they feel like they're just like white Americans and stuff like that, because they never speak Spanish in their shows or movies. And if they do, it's not very fluent. There's no real cultural appreciation with their characters, stuff like that. So now you have a movie with this very famous Latino actress, and once again, she's literally white passing in the movie. And I do have a problem with that, because it's kind of like there's no mention of her Latino heritage. But when you see her father, who is dead in the beginning of this movie because he got ate up in like the ocean and stuff like that, you see he has prosthetics and makeup and you can't even tell he is Latina and stuff. And so I just think that is so messed up. They would not go there and everything, because you know they cast this, and the only reason why Jenna Ortega was even cast in this movie is because of the Wednesday show. The writers of the movie and the director of the movie worked with her on Wednesday. So bam, that's why she's in here, despite Tim Burton being all like, yeah, you know, like I only cast white people in my movies and, you know, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is really the only reason why she is in this movie. A person of color. That's the only real reason why her father actor, who also is Latina, Chilean, I think it's something like that. He's in this movie. The only reason why Monica, an Italian actress, is in this movie is because she's dating the director and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And with the whole Tim Burton thing and the whole casting thing, it's like, okay, it's like this. I never realized he only casts white folks in his movies. And if he casts a person of color, they're normally a villain. There was this one movie with Eva Green and some magical kids, and Samuel L. Jackson was the only person of color in that movie, and he was the villain. And this never been brought to my attention until I was watching Red Letter Media, I think they're called, the YouTube channel. And they brought that to like people's attention, that people call Tim Burton racist and the whole Soul Train thing. And that was him giving the middle finger and poking fun at people saying he's racist and stuff like that. And so I'm thinking to myself, I've never heard that allegation. So I looked online and I started thinking about his movies. I'm kind of like, oh, wait a minute. They are all white and the people of color are villains. Even Billy D. Williams played Harvey Dent in the first Batman movie, and he was only in there for like a minute, but he is technically a villain who turns into Two-Face. I'm just like, holy crap. But then again, Robin was supposed to be played by a black actor, but that never came to fruition because, you know, Joel Schumacher took over in the third movie. And Billy D. Williams wasn't even in the second. And so it's kind of like, Tim Burton does only cast white people. And the thing is about that is like, when he responded as to why that is and everything, His answer was extremely tone deaf and made the situation a million times worse. And his response, and I don't have the article in front of me, I'm just going to paraphrase it. Basically, he basically will just make movies that caters to him, and he doesn't add people of color if he doesn't find a necessary reason to like add them in the movie. And he said years ago when he was watching the Brady Bunch, towards the end, they started bringing in people of color, I think kids that were like adopted or something like that. And he said basically that pissed him off because they was trying to be politically correct and everything. So that was weird that he would use the term politically correct because people don't use that term anymore. Now they use the term woke. But I think he was too afraid to use the word woke because that would have triggered people and stuff like that. And like I said before, he didn't cast Jenna in this movie or the Wednesday show because the Wednesday show is not even his show. And so, like, do I think he is racist? Not to the full degree, no, like a traditional racist and everything, but I do feel he is ignorant and old-fashioned. He's old white Hollywood and stuff like that. And I believe he was probably raised in a way to where all he saw was white people and stuff. And, you know, that's what, and of course, I do not expect him to make a black movie or an Asian movie or Latino or Italian movie or whatever, because he doesn't know how to speak to those people. So I would never want to see him do that. But it would be nice to sprinkle in some people of color in your movie and have them do something other than being a villain and stuff like that, you know? And so I do feel like he is ignorant, yes, and everything. And I do feel like he is too old-fashioned and hasn't really opened his eyes to like the world and what's going around him and everything. He's in his own little bubble world and everything. And when you watch this movie, you actually see a good couple of people of color like doing a funeral sequence and other sequences and stuff like that, but they're background nobody characters. I believe that's his way of poking fun at people calling him racist and just giving a middle finger to it. However, then there are other blatant references of racism in this movie. Yes, there is the Asian man who works at kind of like the laundry place in the underworld. And he's an old Asian man with a thick accent and broken English and everything. And he's working at a laundromat, which, you know, you always see that in Hollywood and stuff. Sometimes when you see an Asian person, they're always working at a laundromat and everything. His character dies. And then you had that Latino character in the beginning who might be Afro-Latino or something like that. And he falls to his death and he's in the underworld. And he's trying to talk to Danny DeVito's character. And Danny DeVito's character can't understand him because at first he's speaking Spanish and then the guy decides to speak English to him and leaves. And Danny DeVito's all like, damn foreigners and everything. I'm all like, that was in the beginning of the movie. And I'm just like, why? Why would you write that for? But of course, that's him giving the middle finger to people calling him racist. But you don't show that you're racist in a movie if you're trying to prove them wrong. And then there is the whole Soul Train thing. This was the biggest middle finger FU he gave in the entire movie. Because people always talk about there's no people of color in his movie. Now they say people of color. They ain't say nothing about no black folks, right? But he made it a point to single out the blacks and the Latinos and the Asians in this movie in 3 different scenes. And then the black scene is the Soul Train scene. Now the train has literally been there, I think, since the first movie, I think. It's where the souls depart and this and that, right? This time, however, there's nothing but black folks on there. And they're jiving to disco music. Not only are they black, but they're jiving and everything. And I'm just kind of like, you nappy-haired son of a bitch, you. Like, why would you put this cringy scene in the movie for. And you did it as a FU to the audience and everything, which is just proving their point of you being racist and everything. It's kind of like Quentin Tarantino. Quentin has gotten criticism because his movies are racist. His movies are sexist and everything towards women, misogynistic towards women, and they're hyper violent. And his response is they're just not made for you. So what he's saying is that they're made for people who like racism, love hyper violence, and love men talking down to women. Yeah, that's not a good case, dude. That's not a good response. So I do feel Tim Burton is just extremely ignorant on borderline racism and everything. And that's really sad to see because he is a phenomenal director when he puts his thinking hat on and everything, but only from the 80s and early 90s. After that, look, this dude movies just haven't been good, man. That's not even me being salty. His movies just haven't been good. Like, they really haven't. And I've seen, like I said before, a number of his movies that like crashed and burned. And it was just like, who are you now? You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, whatever and stuff. Like, whatever. But then there's the William Dafoe character who plays Wolf something. And he's like a former actor who played a cop and who is now a cop down in the underworld. His character's useless and there's no point him being there. He didn't even round up the dead, shrunken head people that escaped and everything through the portal. They're wreaking havoc on the world, having a good time. That could have been a movie all on his own or a plot to like a sequel, but no, it's not. And even his character, Tim Burton, like this is another, like people think he was only racist on the whole Soul Train thing. No. If you listen to the way the wolf dude is talking, he's using black slang. Like he said, like keeping it real and other stuff he said. Now, black folks came up with that. And Hollywood's been poking fun at the whole keeping it real type thing because James Gunn, of all people, wrote the first Scooby-Doo movie, and Scooby-Doo's all like, keeping it real. And it's just their way of poking fun at black culture. This is what white Hollywood does. White Hollywood will find some clever way to poke fun at other races. And this is why people get so offended and get so tired of it and stuff. And tons of white people online be all like, you're just playing the race card. You all get so offended by everything. Oh, really? Okay, well, how about this? They're gonna make a movie that's woke. We're gonna have people of color in the movie, women, LGBT, and the only white person there is gonna be a toxic white man or a bumbling idiot white man. Oh, I'm offended now. Why he has to be rude? Why he has to be toxic? Why he has to be stupider than everybody else? Why does the woman rule over him? Like, how dare you and everything? Y'all get offended too. So whatever. And so, Astrid, she's just like, rude to her mom. And I just kind of wish that was developed a little bit more, like more interaction with them because it goes by so quickly. And then like the anticipation, we see her go under that like not drawbridge, but kind of like that tunnel bridge type thing. And of course, that's the accident from the first movie. So fans speculated she dies and that's how she ends up in the underworld. But no, it's not. In fact, she almost gets into an accident and she meets this boy and she's smitten by him, like it's kind of like she's attracted to him and he reads books. And so I think it's like Halloween, something like that. And honest to God, it's Halloween in a Beetlejuice movie. How do you not play that up? Especially with the ghouls, the shrunken head ghouls and everything. They escape. How do you not play? That's money right there. Like, how do you squander that? But anyways, so when what is it? What's her name? Lydia and her fiance now, like, they go down into the underworld, they meet Beetlejuice, she freaks out. She like leaves and she wants to move her family away, but Astrid don't want to because she likes a boy. But then it turns out that boy is actually a ghost. Now, I have one problem, another, well, one, not one, but like another problem with this movie. It's like the chemistry between a lot of these like characters are not there. Like, I'm not feeling the chemistry between Jenna and Winona. I'm not feeling the chemistry between Astrich and Jeremy. It's just I'm not feeling it there. Like, the only reason why I feel like she likes him is because he's just a good looking guy, but I'm not feeling the chemistry between those two. And one reason I can't talk right now. One reason could be because the actor only has 2 acting credits to his name, or maybe it's just Jenna. Like, I'm telling you, something's off with Jenna in this movie. I've never seen her act this way, where she gives little facial expression and she's just kind of there. You know what I'm saying? And maybe she's tired. Who knows? Like, I don't know. But throughout the entire movie, for her to not have chemistry with nobody, not even her dad, like, that's just bizarre and weird. You know what I'm saying? So when he tells her, like, I'm a ghost and I can help you find your dad and like, all this other stuff, her expression of her finding her dad, she's happy, but not overly happy. And I'm just kind of like, isn't that something she really, really, really wants? Like, why isn't she acting like this up? Now, when it comes to that of Jenna Ortega character Astrich, she is the complete opposite of her mom. She's not goth. She like doesn't believe in ghosts. And a lot of that threw a lot of fans off because they assumed she would be goth because some of the pictures that leaked and everything, but that was just a funeral scene and her in the underworld playing, I think, Madame Curie or something like that. And so it's refreshing that, she's not like her mom, and that sets her apart from her mom. But it is kind of odd that she's not like, edgy kind of person because, her grandmother does art. Her mom is goth and everything. Like, normally that rubs off on the kids, but she's so like irritated by that type of stuff. And plus, a lot of people assume she would be goth because she just got through playing Wednesday Addams. And not only that, but when she posted a picture alongside herself with Tim, she was wearing like a black veil and some type of black outfit, and she would have her eyes shadow makeup and everything. And I don't know, like, there needs to be something to this character, because other than that, do we really know anything about this character? We know she don't believe in ghosts. We know she misses her dad. She can't stand her mom, and she gets picked on at school. That is literally it. We don't know nothing else about this girl. And you gotta build up your character development, and I feel like they just rushed this movie. But it turns out he sucks and everything. Like, he's just there to steal her life so he can come back to the land of the living. And when he reveals that to her, it's just so nonchalant. Like, the acting is so off. And it could just be because I cannot talk. It could be because this is his second acting credit. So you'd think they would have went with a more experienced actor. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't. And so now we finally get some facial expressions from her, because now she's freaking out that she's going to be trapped in the underworld and everything. And who does she randomly like stumble across? Her dad, of all people and everything. Like, it was the most random like interaction ever. And so there's not much to him either other than he's just a nice guy. And it's like, I read somewhere that his character and Lydia are divorced, but why? He seems so nice and everything. So of course, when Lydia does find out about, like, the boy in the murder house and everything and how he killed his parents 23 years ago, she goes into mommy mode. And I love that. She's a very protective mother. So I love how she just like, like, well, my child's in danger. Oh, I gotta do something about that. And I love that, you know what I'm saying? And when she goes to try to stop her daughter, she can see that she already passed through the portal and it's too late. Now, how did she know that book specifically would, like, is the one that opens up the portal? I have no idea. It's never really explained. She just kind of guesses and takes it and stuff. And this is, of course, when she goes back and she makes that alliance with Beetlejuice. And this kind of made me a little happy, because it was kind of like Beetlejuice has barely been in this entire movie and stuff. I'll get into that a little bit later. So they make an alliance, and it reminded me of the cartoon. And so, like, while she's down in the underworld, he splits up from her. The ex-wife is still looking for him. And then, like, she sees her daughter and she pulls her out the soul train. You think it was like that easy, and you think it would have been harder and everything, or an obstacle she has to go through, or have to fight through some people. But no, it's just she goes through a crowd of people, grabs her daughter's hand, and pulls her out. And oh look, there's the dad. And it's just kind of like, really, like, there's really no suspense built up other than, like, you know, will she be able to find her daughter? It just like happens so quickly. This movie is so rushed. And so they have a nice little family outing and everything, and they head back to the real world, and she tells Lydia, oh wait, I have to get married tonight. And this is what's so odd. When her fiance proposed to her, she didn't seem interested in marrying him, but she did. Feel like she was obligated just to do it just because. And she literally tells her, you know, well, he likes me and that should be good enough. And it's like, who is Lydia in this movie? Like, we didn't really know her that well in the first one, and here in the second one we still don't know her all that well either. And it's just kind of like, it would have been nice to see them interact with her boyfriend, now fiance, a little bit more. As for Justin Theroux's character, this is my second movie I've ever seen this man in, and his acting is horrible in this movie. He can't do... Actually, he did comedy once, and Charlie's Angels too, but here? What the world, man? It's like, his acting is the worst by far, next to, like, Jeremy's and everything. It's just not there whatsoever. And he is just like, sticks out as like just not being very, I don't know what the world I don't think nobody wanted to be in this movie. I truly don't believe nobody wanted to be in this movie. So when Beetlejuice shows up to crash the wedding, it's revealed that Justin Theroux's character only was with Lydia because she's famous and has money. And he hit him with like a truth serum and everything. And it's just like, are there really no good men in this movie? Like, all of them suck. Like, seriously, every single last one of them is horrible. And it's just kind of like, you couldn't make not one good one. And so Beetlejuice hooks him up with his ex, and then the sandworms come and takes both of them down, and that's that, all rushed. And Lydia, not Lydia, but Astrid just kind of like, you know, she remembers the spell from the book, and she was able to like create a door and not 3 times. But it's just kind of like, it just happened so quickly. But what about Beetlejuice himself, the person I have not like mentioned that much at all in the movie? And that's because he's really not in the movie that much at all. It's his own movie and he's barely in it. And that pissed a lot of fans off because the main person they wanted to see in this movie was Beetlejuice himself. Now, to be fair, if you remember the first, he's barely in the first movie too, but he made such an impression by how he is and fast talking and the spikes coming out his body and all this other stuff that he was so memorable and everything. And here we finally get to get his backstory, which is he just got poisoned and he's over 300 something years old, and he chopped his wife up and somehow she was confined and somehow she unleashed herself 300 years later. And so he is now working at a dead-end job with the shrunken heads, and he just doesn't like it. And so, like, you have a scene where after, it seems he still is obsessed with Lydia after all these years for some bizarre reason. And so, like, when Lydia needs his help, like I said before, he's willing to help her out. And this was so cool because it reminded me of the cartoon when those two were best friends and they just went on all these wacky adventures and stuff. And so I'm all like, that's kind of cool. He's actually the anti-hero type person in this movie. But then they go and turn him back into villain and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, really? Like another, like, you know, terrible male character and everything. And the whole thing was, in order for him to help Lydia, she has to promise not to ever send him back to the underworld, and she has to marry him. So once again, he is obsessed with her and her only for some reason. And until this day, nobody knows why he is obsessed with her. In the first movie, he never was. He, for some reason, just wanted to marry her, because I think if he married like a mortal or something like that, then he gets to come back to like the land of the living, and he didn't have that many people to choose from, because the wife Maitland, like Gina Davis character, she was dead. I guess he didn't want the mother because she's older, so there's no telling when she'll die. So he wanted somebody who was younger, who will live a long life, and he can stay in the world a whole lot longer. So that's why I assumed in the first movie, but now it shows he's still obsessed with her and stuff. And so, like, I had the hardest time understanding what Michael Keaton was saying in this movie. Like, I don't understand. Like, in the first one, I could understand him, but in this one, I couldn't. I'm glad he wore the striped white and black suit, because that's his iconic suit, and everybody knows that suit, but yet he didn't wear it that much in the first movie. And so, like, after he gets rid of, like, what's the name? After he gets rid of like his ex-wife and Justin Theroux's character, all of a sudden Astrid's all like, "Oh, you can't stay in this world because you violated this rule, and now the contract's null and void." How the heck did she know that? She has not read that entire book to know the rules and everything, but somehow out of the blue she just happens to know. So he's like, I'm screwed. So then he goes back into the underworld, and now he is defeated just like that. Or is he? Because he's still haunting the dreams of Lydia. Throughout the movie, there's this really cringy scene where her and Astrid have moved away. Astrid sees a boy, and she falls in love with him within seconds, gets married, and then has his baby. But the baby turns out to be a baby beetlejuice. And then it turns out, with a dream within a dream, Lydia is still having nightmares by him, making people wonder, yeah, I don't think Astrid defeated him. And that whole, oh, the contract's null and void, I think she just like tricked him, and he just pretended, like, to be defeated and everything. But he's really still bind and married to that of Lydia. So if they make a sequel, of course it's gonna be called Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. That's probably gonna be now, like, what the third movie's gonna be about. But here's the thing, right? Take out the ex-wife, take out Justin Theroux, and take out that of William Dafoe's character. Keep it where Jeremy tricked Astrid, and that's the main plot of the entire movie from like the beginning. But better yet, to give Beetlejuice something to actually really do, why couldn't Beetlejuice be the one who set all this in motion? Why didn't he trick Jeremy into like telling him, hey man, if you want to go back to the land of the living, all you gotta do is marry somebody, and I have the perfect person for you. All you gotta do is just find this person and everything. And so, like, and then that's how he met like Astrid, and then he tricks her, and then that was makes Lydia like, ask for like an alliance and everything. That's such a much more better plot than what they gave us and everything. It could have been Beetlejuice setting all this stuff in motion for the perfect plan, and to finally get Lydia for whatever bizarre reason and stuff, and to get Lydia into the underworld. And to top it all off, he could have probably tortured Lydia's husband, because seriously, if he's still obsessed with Lydia, and Lydia's husband's all like, I check in on y'all all the time, then like, how come Beetlejuice hasn't checked in on her? How come Beetlejuice hasn't taken out his anger out on the father and everything? Like, see, all this stuff is not making sense because this movie was extremely rushed. Because even in the family scene, when Lydia finds out that her mom is dead, she's shocked and surprised. but she's not devastated, shocked, and surprised, you know? And it's like, you would assume that, like, she would be a heck of a lot more devastated and everything than what she was. And then the interaction with the other family, like, you know, the father and the daughter and the wife, Astrid and Lydia barely reacted to him being there and everything. Like, you think they would have been overjoyed, overwhelmed, especially Astrid, because the whole point of her going into the underworld was to find him, and she's barely showing any emotion. Like I said before, Jenna Ortega's acting is so off in this movie, it doesn't make no sense. And this, I truly feel like this was a cash grab. I mean, there even was a dance sequence for Jenna Ortega, and we all know why that was put in there, because of the Wednesday show, and she had that famous dance. And of course, there was dancing in the first movie, but the fact that it was with Jenna Ortega and just Catherine and everything, you know, like you know why it was put there. So I feel like this movie by fans was overhyped, because they was wearing nostalgia goggles and everything. Like, I truly believe that, like, if they had never seen the first one, never been a fan of the first one, and didn't have, like, nostalgia glasses on, then they would have been like, you know, this movie isn't that great and everything. Like, it's all right, it's okay, but it's not all that. Because it's really not. It's just kind of there. Like, the movie is just kind of there. You know what I'm saying? It's not memorable. It wasn't exciting enough. Like, you do get worried. Like, here's the thing. You get worried when you find out Jeremy's really a psycho killer, right? But here's the problem. He never acts like a psycho killer. Why did he murder his parents? And he murdered them in a very brutal way. But every time we see him, he has a nonchalant look on his face and a bit of a smile, like a normal smile. And even when he tells Astrid, hey, I'm going to trade life with you, he has a nonchalant and a smile look on his face. And I'm just like, dude, you're supposed to be this big, scary villain of the movie, but you're just so nonchalant. And it's like, how is this dude supposed to be this evil to kill his parents the way he did? Then there is the ex-wife. She's just so wooden in this entire movie. It's almost like she's a body with a purpose, like a zombie, but she has no brain and everything. She's just going room by room, sucking the soul out of people and be like, where's Beetlejuice? And that's literally it. There was 30 years. They had like 30 years to come up with something amazing, something thrilling, something exciting. And they gave us this mediocre, bland movie for a cash grab. And it's all because of the success of Wednesday, which season 2 of Wednesday better be freaking amazing like the first movie. Because I truly feel like nobody really wanted to make this movie. I don't, because Tim Burton and Michael Keaton literally said they will never come back unless there is a good enough script. And that's the good script. The daughter of Lydia gets kidnapped by like a ghost and finna trade a life with, and so that makes her go into the underworld. That's the great, amazing script. Couldn't it be Beetlejuice unleashes all the ghosts into the real world and taking over the real world, causing chaos and killing more people, making the underworld way too crowded and everything, breaking all the rules, and you know, and him having like domination over everything, or like, you know, like something huge. He's just there in a rut and like a dead end job that he hates and everything. Like, there was so much they could have done. Or like, you know, or what if like the bride, she's so disgruntled about what happened between her and Beetlejuice that somehow she escapes and she just decides to target people in the relationships and everything. And then they have to like stop her because of that. Like something, like they came up with the most generic, obvious, like plot for this movie involving Astrid and Jeremy. 30 freaking years. And people talking about this movie's awesome. This movie is everything they wanted. It's just nostalgia goggles. Like I'm so disappointed. I watched this movie now. It's just like a cartoon show was funner than this. Like, why couldn't they have it to where, okay, maybe Beetlejuice is in a rut and he's just giving up, and him and Astrid decides to do what him and Lydia did in the cartoon. I know the cartoon is not tied to the movies, but I'm just saying, what if him and Astrid just like went down the underworld and had a bunch of wacky adventures? He screwed up, and now him and Lydia gotta save the day. That could have been a whole lot cooler. I'm just saying. 30 freaking years. So now what the third movie's gonna be about? It made 400 million something dollars. They're gonna make another movie. And it's just kind of like, is this really it? Michael Keaton, he needs a win. For real. Like, because he's just bopping around from like DC to like Marvel, and neither one is helping his career. And Tim Burton desperately needs a win because he's had like over a 10 year, like, of like movie flops and stuff. And Wednesday's the only thing that really saved his career and stuff. And if Jenna Ortega wants to stay the it girl of Hollywood, which is starting to kind of fade away, she's going to need a win because Miller Girl apparently didn't do so good. And she had another movie that didn't do so good. And they gotta think about this stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.